the latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. Dr. Nyamson delivers a highly critical breakdown of what he describes as a major global double standard in African geopolitics. According to Dr. Nyamson, for more than 20 years, numerous official investigations, academic research papers, and books on global terrorism have constantly pointed to specific Middle Eastern nations, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait as their primary hubs and temples for T group leadership. Dr. Nyamson emphasizes that this information is absolutely not a secret. He says that the United Nations and the African Union, ECOWAS, CMM, and all these SADC or groups know these facts. He claims that every major international institution is fully aware that these specific Gulf states act as the sponsors of T groups. Furthermore, Dr. Nyamson asserts that they do this in complete agreement and harmony with their NATO allies, specifically naming the United States, France, and Great Britain. According to Dr. Nyamson, the official Malian government communique released on May 16th represents a massive historic turning point for African sovereignty.
How long have the surveys been going on? Research. Books on terrorism identify Middle Eastern countries. They're Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait as the temples of terrorist leaders. For how long? But for over 20 years, all the investigations that are paid to establish this. The United Nations knows it, African Union, the knows, the CEDAW knows, the CMA knows it, LA, CKS knows it, LA, SADC knows it. All international institutions know that Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates are sponsors of terrorist groups, in good agreement with their NATO allies, i.e. the United States, France and Great Britain. They consortment. Everyone knows it. And it is necessary that it is Mali which says it. The Malian communique of May 16 is a great gesture of taking, of conscience and responsibility here in Africa. Because for a long time, we searched, we did not find someone who is the courage of Mali. What Mali has just done is that he just put his feet in the dish. He just called a cat a cat. If Mali has taken the responsibility to warn Saudi Arabia that a journalist from the Saudi state press came to violate Malian territory with terrorist groups, it's because undoubtedly our authorities here in Mali are aware of much more, still very serious, that are made with the complicity of Saudi Arabia against Mali. If the Mali took the responsibility to speak, to publish a press release, that means that there are many other things that are on the account of the authorities, and those things that are on the account, as a scientist, documented these things for a very long time. Saudi Arabia is a terrorist power. Then what is the problem with Africans? Why Africans don't have the same courage to denounce Saudi Arabia and denounce France? Because Africans fear for some of them that they will catch a curse in it. While Saudi state terrorism is contrary to Islam, it is not because the holy land of Islam is Saudi Arabia that those who rule Saudi Arabia are holy. And that's what we have to explain to our Muslim brothers, our Muslim sisters. Everything that is Saudi is not holy. This is the same mistake that was made in the Christian world, where it has been assumed that any EC that comes from of Jerusalem is born. All that comes from Israel is saint. But who told you that the government of Israel is the embodiment of the who speaks the Bible, that told you that the government of Saudi is the embodiment of the, of which the Quran has nothing to do with it, CE? Are political powers. They are powers that have interests, geostrategic and geopolitical. They are powers that belong to this world. We must not confuse the God adore. That the bases call Fiolombe Nyambe, that the Arabs call Allah, that the Hebrews call Yahweh. We must not confuse our relationship with God with our relationship with the state. No state. No state is God on this earth. None in the Muslim Shahada. It is said that there is no God. Means that Saudi Arabia is not God. And African Muslims must get rid of this. You can be a Muslim without being under allegiance to Saudi Arabia. Because Saudi Arabia, it is a state of this world. It is not the kingdom of God. And just look what they do. To realize that it is not the kingdom of God, they are associated with the worst criminals who attack us. And it is difficult to denounce them, because we think that God will punish us. When they are not sin God, then Africans, there is no state on this earth that is God. A state must be judged by its actions, not on the fact that in its territory there is a place that is important to believers. The Muslim religion must be put aside, away from the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Look at the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. As it is not because we are Muslim that we have to agree with Saudi Arabia, and that's the problem. This is the blockage that has in the minds of many of our leaders and people. In Africa, the confusion between religion and politics, total confusion. From the moment you make this confusion, you are not able to denounce with courage Saudi terrorism, Qatari terrorism, Emirati terrorism. You can't, because the moment you start to denounce we'll think you're blaspheming. But then the Christians, they could not denounce French terrorism, American terrorism, Italian terrorism. Christians could not denounce Western terrorism because, well, there is Saint-Pierre de Rome, there is the Vatican there. Therefore, it would be enough to denounce French terrorism. Well, for the God a Christian is cursing us. You think that these are the truths we have to tell each other. In Africa, let us be freely the one we want. We are Muslims. We are free to be Muslims. We are Christians. We are free to be Christians. We are traditional Africanists. We are free to be African traditionalists. But that nobody. Do not take his religious beliefs for the basis of his political analysis. Political analysis is not done with religious beliefs. It is done with the examination of the acts that are posed by men, by institutions in the space. So when there is a country, Saudi Arabia, carrying out political acts of terrorism against Mali, against Africa, we all have to denounce with the same energy that we denounce the France of Macron. We must denounce the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. When he sends a journalist from the Saudi state television, do you imagine that we also to the Mali? A journalist from the RTM is sent to Saudi territory. He is sent to make a report to make fun of the Saudi army, who was recently beaten up by the Iranians. Imagine that the radio and television office of Mali sends Malian journalists who enter Saudi Arabia.
He says that for a very long time, African leaders lacked the courage to confront these issues directly. He explained that Mali has finally put his foot down and decided to call a spade a spade. The briefing reveals that the immediate trigger for Mali's official warning to Saudi Arabia was a serious border violation. According to Dr. Nyamson, a journalist working directly for Saudi Arabia state press illegally entered Malian territory while embedded alongside active T groups. Dr. Nyamson argues that this incident is just the tip of the iceberg. He stated that Malian authorities possesses highly sensitive intelligence regarding even more severe actions being carried out against Mali with the direct complicity of Saudi Arabia. As a researcher, Dr. Nyamson claims that he has personally documented these state-sponsored activities for a very long time, defining Saudi Arabia as a tea power. A major portion of Dr. Nyamson's briefing addresses what he calls a deep psychological and religious blockade in the minds of African citizens and leaders. He asks a critical question: why do Africans have the courage to denounce France but completely freeze when it comes to denouncing Saudi Arabia? According to Dr. Nyamson, many African Muslims mistakenly fear that criticizing the Saudi state will bring a curse from God. He strongly rejects this mindset, stating that state-sponsored tea is completely contrary to Islam. He explains to his audience that just because Saudi Arabia contains the holy lands of Islam, it does not mean that politicians who govern the country are holy. Dr. Nyamson compares this to a historic mistake made in the Christian world, where people forcefully assume that any political action coming out of Jerusalem or Israel was automatically holy. He emphasizes to his audience that the political governance of Israel and Saudi Arabia are not the embodiment of the Bible or the Quran. Instead, he describes them strictly as worldly political powers operating entirely on geostrategic and geopolitical self-interest. Dr. Nyamson delivers a direct warning to African citizens. No state on this earth is God. He knows that the Muslim Shahada itself declares that there is no God but God, meaning Saudi Arabia is mainly a human institution. Therefore, Dr. Nyamson argues that the African Muslims must completely free their minds and realize they can be devout believers without owing any political allegiance to the Saudi state. He points out a dangerous confusion between religion and politics across Africa. Dr. Nyamson said that this confusion completely paralyzed people from speaking out against Qatari or Saudi states actions because they forcefully believe that criticizing a government is the same as committing blasphemy. To break this double standard, Dr. Nyamson points out that Christian Africans do not hesitate to denounce French, America, or Italian state policies just because the Vatican or St. Peter's Rome exists in the West. He asks the audience if they honestly believe God will curse a Christian for speaking out against French state policy. In his conclusion remark, Dr. Nyamson insists that true political analysis cannot be mixed with religious sentiment. He says that geopolitics must be judged solely by examining the physical actions committed by men and state institutions. According to Dr. Nyamson, when Saudi Arabia commits political acts that fuel tea groups against Mali and the wider African continent, the public must denounce it with the exact same energy used to criticize the French government under Emmanuel Macron. To illustrate the severity of the situation, Dr. Nyamson ends with a striking comparison. He asks the audience to imagine the reverse scenario. Imagine if Mali state broadcast ORTM sent journalists illegally into Saudi Arabia territory to film a report mocking Saudi military following their recent clashes with Iran. So Dr. has just made things clear to us as Africans because of the way we are mentally changed when it comes to certain things. So when things are even going against us, we tend to look at the religious aspect and keep quiet while we suffer. So they have given us the advice. It's time for us as Africans to also change our mentality to be able to differentiate between religion and politics. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall. And united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world and in Africa.